So, just before we start off this interview, I want to let you know that if any question is too personal, you can always say, hey, I don't want to do that question, or can we please move on to the next question, or however you want to put, I don't want to do this question.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, so our first question is, where do you see yourself on the LGBTQ scale?
I see myself as a proud lesbian.
Okay. Just to get a little insight,
Yeah.
do you currently have a spouse?
I do. I have my partner of 27 years, Tiffany, and we have 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters.
Wow. It's not like I didn't already know that, but it's for the film.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Anyway, what are the goals of the movement? The LGBTQ movement, to be
Well,
more.
to me, they're pretty simple. It's to achieve the same level of rights and responsibilities that other Americans have, without regard to our gender or who we love or how we identify ourselves. It's simple equality.
Thank you. That was a very short answer compared to Arlene and Scott. So, sorry, our computer just bugged. I've been having technical difficulties with these interviews, so
Oh, really?
luckily you got like the easy shot of it, Carol.
And it gives me more time to drink my water.
Do you think the fight is over, and why do you think that answer?
Actually, I don't think the fight is over because I think that there are still places, even in the United States, where people can be fired because they're gay or lesbian or bi or trans. People can lose their jobs just simply because someone decides that their sexual orientation or gender identity is not something that they like as a boss. So that's a very simple thing. Other things like being able to have access to the rights that come with marriage. We don't have that all across the country. In Washington State, we're very, very lucky. We have good legal protections here for the most part. But some of our neighboring states, just look at our neighbor Idaho. You know, you can still lose a job, you can still not have housing, people could throw you out of rental housing if they decide they don't go along with what your sexual orientation is. So we think that we have it pretty well together here in Washington, but this is a big country and there's a lot of people still suffering.
Wow, that was a deep answer. Oh, I'm just curious because I don't really know what this means.
Okay.
So, what does queer mean to you?
Well, queer to me was always a bad word. I'm 59, and so when I was a kid and people would say somebody was queer, I didn't really know that it had anything to do with sexual orientation or anything like that, but I knew it was a bad thing and you didn't want to be that. So it was interesting as I got older and younger people came into the gay and lesbian world and took the name queer, the word queer, and made it a positive thing. Made it something that they were proud to own, that, oh, you can't hurt me with that word because I'm going to use that word for myself to define myself. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it still. I love that young people are feeling powerful and like nobody has any right to discriminate against them. I'm very, very proud of that. But the hateful part is the part that many of us have as children about not wanting to be bad or to be wrong or have people not love us because we're different.
Okay. So, do you see the movement? Where do you see the movement going in 10 years?
Well, gosh, this last 10 years has been so exciting. We have things like gays in the military is the law of the land now. And as a veteran myself, as somebody who was in the Army, that is a tremendous thing to keep people able to be open and honest about who they are. So that's pretty great. And the fact that so many states do recognize marriage equality, that's another tremendous thing. And if we go at this rate, my gosh, I don't know, it'll only be gay and lesbian people running the world in 10 years. And everybody will want to be gay.
So, what was it like growing up as a kid? Like, when did you realize that you were lesbian or whatever?
I think I knew when I was in high school that there was something different about me, but because of my religion, I just refused to have anything to do with that as a something self-actualizing. So I just put that away. But as a kid, I don't think I knew any gay or lesbian people. I didn't know anybody who was out, for sure. There were some books like Our Bodies, Ourselves that kind of gave an overview of lesbians and lesbian culture, and that was important to me. But I just didn't know anybody who was gay. And people would gossip about people, but I never knew them to identify that way.
Okay. What effect has this movement had on you? Like, yeah.
Well, in a really practical sense, it's given me a lot of freedom and a lot of safety. It's made my self-esteem come up, as though I don't have to hide who I love, and that I don't have to hide just the fact that I'm out here in the world because I'm afraid that somebody could hurt me or take my children away. So it's meant a tremendous amount to me, just a tremendous amount. And I feel like I'm very lucky to have been a part of this movement, because even though that it's been a struggle, I know that a lot of good has come out of it. And a lot of people are much happier and safer now.
So, I'm pretty sure you are involved in the LGBTQ movement, weren't you?
Yes.
So, where and like, let's start off with why were you involved in this movement?
Because it felt like it was my community, and as soon as organizing started happening and I was in a position where I was in a big enough town, I moved to Seattle about 32 years ago, and that's when I first got involved with organizing and being involved in the movement, as you call it. And there were things that needed to be done. One of the first things that I was involved with as a volunteer was the gay and lesbian pride events. I served as a co-chair of the pride events here in Seattle, and I was one of the founders of the Pride Festival, which is now a big growing concern. Thank you. I became very involved in the care and support of people living with AIDS. One of the first things that I did with other women in town is we had a group called Blood Sisters Seattle, and we donated blood on behalf of the gay community because gay men were forbidden to give blood. And of course we'd always been blood donors, but the fact that you would say someone couldn't be a blood donor simply because they had sex with men, not because they were infected with HIV, but simply because they had sex with men, was something that we wanted to draw attention to as being ridiculous. And we knew that there was a lot of fear about how AIDS was transmitted. This was 1985, I guess. So we understood that, but we also said we have to use good science and not discriminate simply because we can. So, and then I was the leader of a organization called Chicken Soup Brigade, which provide practical support services to people living with AIDS. We would do really simple things like help people clean their houses, we would feed people, make meals for them, take them to the doctor, those kinds of things, just provide some companionship and some sense that somebody cared. So, and I did that work for 9 years. And it was very, very, very rewarding and very sad.
So, this isn't one of my questions, because I have finished all my questions. But, what brought you, like, the most joy out of being in this movement? If any, but I'm pretty sure there was some.
Oh gosh, there's so many, I can't tell you. I think maybe one of the best things that ever happened to me in this movement was being able to adopt my daughter, my youngest daughter, and to have my partner adopt my oldest daughter. That was probably the most meaningful thing. And the joy that brought me to be the legal parent of my own baby was tremendous. And that baby's 24 years old now, so that, you know, it's kind of reaching back into the memory. But then, ever since then, I've watched other families grow and expand as they've added children through birth or adoption, and it's just made me so very happy. Because I have this really bad thing that I'm just crazy about kids, and I'm crazy about families. So I'm glad not to be fighting against something all the time. I'm glad to be fighting in favor of something. And for me, it's about families.
So I remember you saying something to me a couple days ago about how you were the first family to triple adopt.
That's right.
So can you please tell me about that? Like
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the like, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you said that because I think I told you that we had gone to our attorneys to update our personal papers, and we were talking to our attorney about the fact that we were the first gay and lesbian family, because Sophie's dad is gay, so in the country to have a 3-parent adoption. And he says,
Oh, so-
no, you were the first 3-parent adoption in the country. So Sophie has 3 legal parents. Her father did not have to give up give up his parental rights. I did not have to give up my parental rights, and Tiffany I consider it Jim and Tiffany inviting me to also be a co-parent. So that was extraordinary. It hadn't been done in the United States before. And we didn't know, we just wanted to get it done. And we did. And so Sophie has 3 legal parents.
That's pretty cool.
And a birth certificate that shows it. And Katie's birth certificate just shows 2 parents, but they're both her mothers.
Wow. Okay, thank you. That was a great interview. But just so we can get it on film.
Okay.
What what did you see good about this interview, and what do you think needs improving?
Well, I love talking to you. And so that's probably my favorite.
'Cause I'm perfect.
Perfectly! Yes. We'll leave that open. That's exactly right. And I think that you genuinely care about the subject. And I know that you're a historian, so that makes it even better. But I think I would have also liked it if you would have had your other teammates here, because if I can spread the message, pardon? If I can spread the message, I'd rather send it to more people than fewer. So that's the only downside.
Okay.
You made me very comfortable, and I was glad to do this. Thank you.
Okay. The end.
Thank you. And I'm glad.